Hello, my name is Cortina Jackson, and I'm always so excited to share in the Word. Will you go with me as I read Ecclesiastes 5 through 8? Guard your steps as you go to the house of God, and draw near to listen rather than to offer sacrifice of fools, for they do not know they are doing evil. Do not be hasty in word or impulsive in thought to bring up a matter in the presence of God. For God is in heaven, and you are on earth. Therefore, let your words be few. For the dream comes through much effort, and the voice of a fool through many words. When you make a vow to God, do not be late in paying it, for he takes no delight in fools. Pay what you vow. It is better that you should not vow than that you should vow and not pay. Do not let your speech cause you to sin, and do not say in the presence of the messenger of God that it was a mistake. Why should God be angry on your account of your voice and destroy the work of your hand? For in many dreams and in many words there is emptiness. Rather fear God. If you see oppression of the poor and denial of justice and righteousness in the province, do not be shocked at the sight. For one official watches over another official, and there are higher officials over them. After all, a king who cultivates the field is an advantage to the land. He who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor he who loves abundance with its income. This too is vanity. When good things increase, those who consume them increase. So what is the advantage to the owners except to look on? The sleep of the working man is pleasant, whether he eats little or much, but the full stomach of the rich man does not allow him to sleep. There is a grievous evil which I have seen under the sun, riches being hoarded by their owner to his hurt. When those riches were lost through a bad investment and he had fathered a son, then there was nothing to support him. As he had come naked from his mother's womb, so will he return as he came. He will take nothing from the fruit of his labor that he can carry in his hand. This also is a grievous evil. Exactly as a man is born, thus will he die. So what is the advantage to him who toils for the wind? Throughout his life, he also eats in darkness with great vexation, sickness, and anger. Here is what I have seen to be good and fitting: to eat, to drink, and enjoy oneself in all one's labor in which he toils under the sun during the few years of his life which God has given him, or this is his reward. Furthermore, as for every man to whom God has given riches and wealth, he also has empowered him to eat from them and to receive his reward and rejoice in his labor. This is the gift of God. For he will not often consider the years of his life, because God keeps him occupied with the gladness of his heart. Chapter 6. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, and it is prevalent among men. A man to whom God has given riches and wealth and honor, so that his soul lacks nothing of all that he desires. Yet God has not empowered him to eat from them, for a foreigner enjoys them. This is vanity and a severe affliction. If a man fathers 100 children and lives many years, however many they be, but his soul is not satisfied with good things, and he does not even have a proper burial, then I say, better the miscarriage than he. For it comes in futility and goes into obscurity, and its name is covered in obscurity. It never sees the sun, and it never knows anything. It is better off than he. Even if the other man lives 1,000 years twice and does not enjoy good things, do not all go to one place? All a man's labor is for his mouth, and yet the appetite is not satisfied. For what advantage does the wise man have over the fool? What advantage does the poor man have knowing how to walk before the living? What the eyes see is better than what the soul desires. This too is futility and striving after wind. Whatever exists has already been named, and it is known what man is, for he cannot dispute with him who is stronger than he is. For there are many words which increase futility. What then is the advantage to a man? For who knows what is good for a man during his lifetime? During the few years of his futile life, he will spend them like a shadow. For who can tell a man what will be after him under the sun? Chapter 7. A good name is better than good ointment, and the one's death is better than the day of one's birth. It is better to go to a house of mourning than to go to a house of feasting, because that is the end of every man, and the living takes it to heart. Sorrow is better than laughter, for when a face is sad, a heart may be happy. The mind of the wise is in the house of the mourning, while the mind of fools is in the house of pleasure. It is better to listen to the rebuke of a wise man than for one to listen to the song of fools. For as the crackling of thorn bushes under a pot, so is the laughter of the fool, and this too is futility. For oppression makes a wise man mad, and a bride corrupts the heart. The end of a matter is better than its beginning. Patience of spirit is better than haughtiness of spirit. Do not be eager in your heart to be angry, for anger resides in the bosom of fools. Do not say, why is it better that the former days were better than these? For it is not from wisdom that you ask about this. Wisdom along with an inheritance is good, and an advantage to those who see the sun. For wisdom is protection, just as money is protection. But the advantage of knowledge is that wisdom preserves the lives of its possessors. Consider the work of God, for who is able to straighten when he is bent? In the day of prosperity, be happy. But in the day of adversity, consider. God has made the one as well as the other, so that man will not discover anything that will be after him. I have seen everything during my lifetime of futility. There is a righteous man who perishes in his righteousness, and there is a wicked man who prolongs his life in wickedness. Do not be excessively righteous, and do not be overly wise. Why should you ruin yourself? Do not be excessively wicked, and do not be a fool. Why should you die before your time? It is good that you grasp one thing and also not let go of the other, for the one who fears God comes forth with both of them. Wisdom strengthens a wise man more than 10 rulers who are in a city. Indeed, there is not a righteous man on earth who continually does good and who never sins. Also, do not take seriously all words which are spoken, so that you will not hear your servant cursing you. For you also have realized that you likewise have many times cursed others. I tested all this with wisdom, and I said, I will be wise, but it was far from me. What has been is remote and exceedingly mysterious. Who can discover it? I directed my mind to know, to investigate, and to seek wisdom, and an explanation to know the evil of folly and the foolishness of madness. And I discovered more bitter than death the woman whose heart is snares and nets, whose hands are chains. One who is pleasing to God will escape from her, but the sinner will be captured by her. Behold, I have discovered this, says the preacher, adding one thing to another to find an explanation, which I am still seeking but have not found. I have found one man among 1,000, but I have not found a woman among all these. Behold, I have found only this, that God made men upright, but they have sought out many devices. Chapter 8. Who is like the wise man, and who knows the interpretation of a matter? A man's wisdom illumines him, and causes his stern face to beam. I say, keep the command of the king, because of the oath before God. Do not be in a hurry to leave him. Do not join in an evil matter, for he will do whatever he pleases. Since the word of the king is authoritative, who will say to him, what are you doing? He who keeps a royal command experiences no trouble, for a wise heart knows the proper time and procedure. For there is a proper time and a procedure for every delight, though a man's trouble is heavy upon him. If no one knows what will happen, who can tell him when it will happen? No man has authority to restrain the wind with the wind, or authority over the day of death, and there is no discharge in the time of war, and evil will not deliver those who practice it. All this I have seen, and applied my mind to every deed that has been done under the sun, wherein a man has exercised authority over another man to his hurt. So then, I have seen the wicked buried, those who used to go in and out from the holy place, and they are soon forgotten in the city where they did thus. This too is fertility, because the sentence against an evil deed is not executed quickly. Therefore the hearts of the sons of men among them are given fully to do evil. Although a sinner does evil 100 times and may lengthen his life, still I know that it will be well for those who fear God, who fear him openly. But it will not be well for the evil man, and he will not lengthen his days like a shadow, because he does not fear God. There is futility which is done on earth. That is, there are righteous men to whom it happens according to the deeds of the wicked. On the other hand, there are evil men to whom it happens according to the deeds of the righteous. I say that this too is futility. So I commended pleasure, for there is nothing good for a man under the sun except to eat and to drink and to be merry, and this will stand by him in his toils throughout the days of his life, which God has given him under the sun. When I gave my heart to know wisdom and to seek the task which has been done on the earth, even though one should never sleep day or night, and I saw every work of God, I concluded that man cannot discover the work which has been done under the sun. Even though man should seek laboriously, he will not discover. And though the wise man should say, I know, he cannot discover. This has just been a wonderful reading of Ecclesiastes 5 through 8. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to Fear into Faith Global Bible Revival, where we are on a mission to get 1 million people to read the Word of God cover to cover in a year. I'm your host, Summer Day, and with me in the studio is Cortina Jackson. Woo!
Yes.
I feel like it's about to get some Holy Spirit up in here.
I feel it already.
Come on. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
Before we even talk about you, I just want to share how you actually were the prototype for this show.
Yes.
You were the first person when we were kind of conceptualizing, what is this whole show going to look like if we do green screen? Like, how is it going to work? And what are we going to do with the images? And you were the person that got into the studio and beta tested. So my first experience of you was the producers of the show sending me a concept. And I was like, who's this beautiful woman?
Oh.
So I feel like we have come full circle now to actually get you in the studio to read.
That was so much fun.
I was going to say, what was that like in the other room?
Oh my gosh. So I got to kind of feel it out. I knew what we were doing. Mm-hmm. I didn't understand how it would look boy, when they came out, just feeling exhilarated, reading the word.
Yeah.
First of all, I was excited. And so I read it with that excitement and that zeal. And when I did, and then saw behind me the graphics, oh my gosh, I about fell over. I thought it was a beautiful concept. And here I am.
Thank you.
I love it. I
You're
absolutely
doing it.
love it.
What's it like reading in the other room, reading the word out loud?
Oh gosh, oftentimes I read silently to myself.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference, when you're reading, and you hear the word, you really absorb it. But when you say it out loud, it's like those words have power, and you're bringing them to life. And when I'm telling a story, even just reading, it is like a story, and it's almost like I'm there. So when I read it out loud, it's like I've been placed in that, just hearing the words of God and how he would have said it and how Jesus would have brought it. Yeah. I know. I'm a storyteller at home, even to myself.
That's great. That's great. Why did you say yes to this project?
It was just a no-brainer. Even when we did the concept, I just thought it was a beautiful opportunity to get a chance to read because, we just need that daily. And so when I got the opportunity to do it, or when I was even told about it, without hesitation, I said yes. Without even thinking about it, because I said, anytime I get to read the word, that's special to me. And so it was quite an honor just to do it. It was an honor. It's always an honor when we're able to hear the word of God, and to do this where other people can hear it and absorb it as well.
Yeah.
That's an honor to me.
I just love you.
Honor.
You're so great. Why do you feel it's important for people to be in the word for themselves? Because one of the things I've learned is that most people sitting in church on Sunday, checking off that Christian box, they're not reading it. Why do you think they need to dive in and do it for themselves?
Well, I think it's important. There are some things that God wants to say to us in particular. And so sometimes I'll hear the word, I'll hear preaching, and, I always go back and check, just check for myself. And what the preacher may deliver, or what someone else delivers, it comes across one way, in the word. But when I go home, it's like it's applied to me directly. There are things that God wants to say to us. When we read for ourselves, it is our time during that repose that God gets to talk to us directly.
Yeah.
And so I feel that, hearing it is wonderful to hear it. But when you go home, then you can apply it. And what does this mean to me?
Yeah.
And God is really speaking at that time. So I think it is very important to read it,
I love it.
I love it too.
I always say, it really is a living, breathing word.
Yes.
Because it's crazy how you can read one scripture and then you're like, I swear I read that 6 months ago. Let me go check my notes. What?
Yes.
How did I not hear it that way? Or, I've read it 2 or 4 times. And it's like, I don't think that, is this scripture really in here? I don't remember ever reading that one.
Well, I've read scriptures that I've read before, and it's something about another time I may go back to that same one, and it just hits differently.
Yeah.
It does something different that time, and I'll just begin to weep like I'd never heard it before. This is my first time. So you always get something different, when you read it, because the situation changes.
Yeah.
And the way we feel about things, and then God uses that to say, I said, trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not to and you're thinking, you're right again, God. You're right again.
So good. So good. Okay. So, I think you're from the Dallas area, right?
I am. Yes.
Okay, were you always from here? You're born and raised here?
No, I'm actually from West Texas. I'm from Lubbock, Texas.
Okay. I know of that place now.
Texas Tech Red Raiders.
Okay.
So yeah, I was born and raised in Lubbock. At the time, it was a small town. It's growing, like most towns.
Yeah.
And
what do you do?
what do I do?
Oh, I'm ready. I'm bracing myself.
I am an actress. I am a voice actor as well. I'm a talk show host.
Yes.
I'm an author. I'm a motivational speaker. And I am a TV and film producer. I wrote, directed, produced, and starred in my first movie entitled Daddy.
Wow.
And so, Yeah.
When did that come out?
That, oh gosh, we had just this last June an amazing red carpet event for that movie.
You are a mover and a shaker.
Oh,
Okay, we got to run down this list again. And where do people find out about your movie? How do they reach you?
Oh gosh. So if they go to CortinaJackson.com,
Okay.
everything is there.
I don't know if you said it right. It's Cortina Jackson.
CortinaJackson.com.
Nice.
You'll find everything. You'll find the movie, my acting, movies, podcasts I've done in the past.
And so if people want you as a guest on their show or they want to watch your film or get your book, all of that's on there.
They must.
They must. I agree. You must. You must go.
Yeah. I have 30 years of criminal justice and law enforcement. I used to be a police officer. I worked in the prisons.
Stop it right now.
I've worked with sex offenders. Just the whole gambit of...
No way. 30 years. Okay, first of all, you don't look that old.
Thank
30
you.
years of that. And then when did you, start this whole other career?
You know, within this past, these past 5 years now, God gave me another direction that I'm so excited about. And so I went from that with all the knowledge that I learned, people that I learned. I was able to take everything that I had in that career and apply it to what I'm doing now, which is in domestic violence and sexual abuse and things that hold us pretty much hostage.
Yeah.
Caught on the hook is what I call it, because for years I was caught on the hook. And in being in that type of environment, the negativity, I use every moment now for positivity. And sometimes you don't know where to go if you've never been in certain situations. Yeah. And so it's such a contrast from what I've done before to get to do this.
You said Caught on the Hook.
Caught on the Hook.
Is that the name of your book?
That's the name of my talk show.
Oh, awesome. I was like, if not, that's got to be your next book. It's got to, Caught on the Hook's the name of your talk show. I like that.
Yes.
I like that, Caught on the Hook. Tell me a little bit about your talk show.
I got a chance to talk with some amazing people. The talk show talks to people who've been through all types of odds and challenges in their lives and sometimes traumatic events. Whether it be, I had guests who, satanic possession.
Oh my goodness. Okay, we're going to pause you.
Oh, I got it.
That's a great stopping point.
Okay.
We'll leave you on the hook for that one. We'll be right back after this. Wow.
I love it.
In a world where challenges echo, one woman's resilience becomes a symphony of triumph. Jennifer's story is a spectacle of transformation. Abandoned and scared, she rises, turning pain into power. This book is your guide with the tools she used. An epic narrative of hope, resilience, and breaking free. Breaking the Bonds, a book by author Jennifer Marcus. Available on Amazon.
Stuff in the moment. Welcome back, my friend, with Cortina Jackson. If you haven't gone to CortinaJackson.com, make sure you go check out all of her stuff. We were talking about your talk show,
yes.
Caught on the Hook.
Caught on the Hook.
So good, where you said you interview all kinds of different people, but you said satanic possession?
Yes.
Wow, now that sounds intense.
Oh, it was very intense. I actually had to be prayed up for this one because when this guest approached me and told me her story, the story was so intense that I was like, God help me through this.
Yeah.
But she began to tell me about how I won't give too much of her story because I want people to watch.
Yeah, make people go what?
In trafficking and in trafficking, being trafficked, she had to endure all type of things.
Yeah.
And take on personas, and it led to this possession and oppression from Satan.
Wow.
The wonderful thing about the guest, about all the guests, is even though their stories are so traumatic, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, how does a person get through that? Mm-hmm. There's always the positive note on the end, because I want people to know that no matter what you go through or have been through, or no matter what it is, that God can always bring you out to something to work for good. And so when you see these guests,
you said you have felons.
One who committed a murder and was in prison for murder and is now a pastor. And so he talks about how he used to catch people in the hook, catch them with the hook and bait them in. And I want people not only to hear about what these guests have been through, but I want it to be an awareness because I've been in criminal justice for so long.
Yeah.
I'm big on safety and security. I have talked to so many people about what they find attractive in a victim. And so a lot of the things that I talk about are what keep people as bait. What makes them bait? What makes them victims? And it's just surprising as I've talked to different sex offenders, different people who've actually murdered.
I think you got to share a couple of those things that make someone.
One of the biggest things, and I remember distinctly, this one guy I was talking to, he said he stood at a 7-Eleven, at a gas station, and the main thing that he noticed is people would drive up and they would, before they got out the car, they would make eye contact with him and then they would get out. He said, but this lady got out of her car and she almost ignored him. Like she didn't want to make that contact because she didn't want anything from him or didn't want him to ask questions. But he targeted her because he knew it was almost like he was invisible. So he waited for her to exit her car. And when she was walking, she had her cell phone in her hand and she was making a beeline for the door. He grabbed her right away and broke her arm in half. Like broke her arm.
Oh my gosh.
Immediately. The biggest thing is paying attention.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not comfortable to make eye contact, but when I go to a store and I'm exiting, if someone's walking behind me, I will make an effort to turn all the way around and maybe give them a nod or, hello or something to let them know, I know you're there. I see you.
Wow.
And that I've heard that not only from that particular offender, but many who've said the same thing.
Wow.
That people do not pay attention. They're not aware. They don't have their head on a swivel. They try to make a beeline or they're in their phone.
Yeah.
And so, it's very important.
My parents always taught me, as soon as I started driving, always to be aware of the surroundings, even as you're approaching the car, like checking to make sure there's no one under the car or any of those things like that. And, having your keys like this.
Yes.
And having your keys out and not having other things in your hands. But I didn't think about, in the age of cell phones, so many people being distracted on their phones. Wow, 30 years in that.
Yes.
What do you think? I feel like that was your training ground, that the Lord was using that as a training ground for this season. What are some of the things that you feel like you learned, you had a sensitivity for, that other people don't have, that God is using to serve in this time?
Going into that, I come from brokenness. And so I had come from low self-esteem and domestic violence, sexually abused, and then to go into an environment in which that's where they are. Every type of thing that violated me, that's the environment I walk into, was almost like, why would you do that to yourself? But God really led me there, and it gave me a confidence. I could see it from both sides, and I could see things from both angles. I'm very good at talking to people, and so instead of going in there, guns blazing and there's a new sheriff in town, I could go in there and talk very calmly, and I had a command presence. And so they knew that I was very serious to not try me, but at the same time, I still had to have that command presence that, this is the way it is. And I gained a lot of respect for that because I treated people fairly. And I didn't mistreat anyone. And so in that, they trusted to talk to me about things that they may have never told anyone, especially the sex offenders. I had to gain compliance, and I had to gain their story and hear.
You can check out the rest of this interview right here or by going to BibleRevival.tv. And if this show has blessed you, you can help us bless others by partnering with us for as little as $20 a month and help us to expand the reach of this show. We'd also like to invite you to join our Kingdom Discipleship Program, where you have an opportunity to get on weekly Bible Zoom calls with us and people around the world to deep dive into His Word. And you can check all that out at BibleRevival.tv. I'll see you next time, my friend.